Hi, I'm Vanessa Mantilia, a physical therapy intern from RTR Medical Foundation in Tacloban City. Today, we're going to be talking about the 3 outcomes measure most commonly used for individual with myasthenia gravis. These outcomes measure include the fatigue severity scale, functional ambulation categories, and the myasthenia gravis activities of daily living. To start with, myasthenia gravis is characterized by weakness and rapid fatigue of any muscles under your voluntary control. It's caused by a breakdown in normal communication between nerves and your muscles. Going through with our first outcomes measure, the fatigue severity scale. The fatigue severity scale is a 9-item scale which measures the severity of fatigue and its effect on a person's activities and lifestyle in patients with a variety of disorders. This is an example of the fatigue severity scale. Now for the method of use and interpretation. As discussed earlier, the fatigue severity scale is a self-report scale of 9 items about fatigue, its severity, and how it affects certain activities. Answers are scored on a 7-point scale where 1 indicates strongly disagree and 7 strongly agree. This means that the minimum score possible is 9 and the highest 63. The higher the score, the more severe the fatigue is and the more it affects the person's activities. It is simple to understand and takes an average of 8 minutes to answer. Now let's move on to the second outcomes measure, the functional ambulation categories. The functional ambulation categories is a 6-point functional walking test that evaluates ambulation ability, determining how much human support the patient requires when walking, regardless of whether or not they use a personal assistive device. The functional ambulation categories is intended for individuals with stroke, multiple sclerosis, and other neurological conditions like myasthenia gravis to measure their walking ability. Now for its method of use. So the clinician have a checkbox of walking ability. It takes 5 minutes to complete, pen and paper is needed, and no training is required. Basically, the functional ambulation categories is used to test if patient with myasthenia gravis can walk in a straight line, on inclined surfaces, on unleveled surface, sideways, and on stairs. Now for its scoring and interpretation, it uses a 6-point scale of scoring. Let's move on to our last outcomes measure, the myasthenia gravis activities of daily living. So this outcomes measure identify the symptoms that most affect the patient's daily living. Form should take just 10 minutes to complete, wherein the patient gives a score from 0 to 3 for each activity listed and add up the results. He or she may complete the form twice a year depending on the doctor's order. Here is an example of the myasthenia gravis activities of daily living score sheets. Again, each of the items is scored from 0 to 3, providing a total score ranging from 0 to 24, where higher scores indicate greater severity of symptoms. That's it for today's video. Thank you for watching.